super moving, but can we do this later?
Feels like I got a rhythm section in my fin.
Come on!
Not sure if you all remember, but back in March 2022, just a month before the film came out, Perifel mentioned he'd be up for a sequel. Fast forward 2 years and DreamWorks Animation has officially confirmed it with a release date set for August 1, 2025. So here's everything we know so far. Let's dive in. Back in March 2022, The Bad Guys director Pierre Perifel shared with a Digital Fix that he'd love to make a sequel if he got the chance. He didn't want to get ahead of himself, but he admitted he was already picturing a future with more adventures for Mr. Wolf and his crew. I'd love to see these characters on screen again, and I think audiences would too, Perifel said. I'm crossing my fingers here, starting to imagine what a second movie might look like, definitely. The Bad Guys is an awesome animated film featuring Sam Rockwell as Mr. Wolf, a skilled thief who teams up with his friends Mr. Snake, Mr. Shark, Mr. Piranha, and Miss Tarantula for epic heists. But when one job goes sideways, these bad guys are left wondering if there might be some good in them after all. It's part kids movie, part crime caper, with a splash of Tarantino style for good measure. The film stands out visually too, thanks to its unique style which blends anime, Western cartoons, and classic DreamWorks animation. Perifel was eager to talk about this look, explaining that in the US, animation often sticks to a certain style, heavily influenced by Disney and DreamWorks with a somewhat naturalistic, video-referenced approach. Then you have something like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which goes super zany with a cartoony style. But I was looking for something else, a different kind of stylization, and that led me to an anime-inspired style, he said. Now, Universal Pictures and DreamWorks Animation are gearing up for a sequel to their $250 million hit The Bad Guys, set for release on August 1, 2025. The studio had already reserved that date for a DreamWorks Animation title, and now we know it's officially The Bad Guys 2. In this follow-up, our favorite crew of animal outlaws, now trying to live as good guys, are called out of retirement for one last job by an all-female squad of criminals. The original filmmakers and cast are back, bringing Aaron Blabey's best-selling book series to life once again. Sam Rockwell returns as the charming Mr. Wolf, alongside Marc Maron as Mr. Snake, Craig Robinson as Mr. Shark, Anthony Ramos as Mr. Piranha, and Awkwafina as Miss Tarantula. Familiar faces like Zazie Beetz, Diana Foxington, Richard Ayoade, Professor Marmalade, Alex Borstein, Police Chief Misty Luggins, and Lilly Singh, Tiffany Fluffit are also on board. Pierre Perifel directs the sequel, with Damon Ross producing and JP Sands, the head of character animation for The Bad Guys, joining as co-director. Oscar-nominated Daniel Pemberton is back for the soundtrack, promising to bring the same energy we loved in the first film. Now, before you get hyped for The Bad Guys 2, you might want to catch up with the 2 holiday specials that dropped on Netflix in 2023 and 2024. If you need a refresher on the first one, The Bad Guys: A Very Bad Holiday, here's the rundown. In A Very Bad Holiday, our favorite gang of bad guys ends up on Santa's nice list, surprisingly, considering they tried to pull off a huge Christmas heist that nearly canceled Christmas. Set as a prequel to the main movie, this special brings back Mr. Wolf, Mr. Snake, Mr. Shark, Miss Tarantula, and Mr. Piranha in a holiday-themed caper. Written by Aaron Blabey and directed by Brett Holland, it introduces a new voice cast with Michael Godere as Mr. Wolf, Chris Diamantopoulos as Mr. Snake, Ezekiel Ajabi as Mr. Shark, Mallory Lowe as Miss Tarantula, and Raul Ceballos as Mr. Piranha. The story kicks off the day before Christmas, with the bad guys planning a bank heist for Christmas morning while everyone is home celebrating. But things go south when they accidentally destroy the city's beloved Big Nick Santa balloon, a local holiday icon. With Christmas spirit wiped out, the bank guards decide to work on Christmas Day, throwing a wrench in the gang's plans. Interestingly, this special reveals a twist. The story takes place before the original movie, when the bad guys were still, well, bad. Mr. Wolf even breaks the fourth wall to let us know that it's a standalone adventure with no need to remember the main movie's plot. Like many holiday specials, it's a loose spin-off that uses the same characters but doesn't depend on the original film for context. The gang tries to salvage their Christmas heist plans by restoring holiday cheer. They borrow presents from department stores, hijack a radio station to play holiday music, and create a snowy Christmas scene with stolen shaved ice, all to get people celebrating at home again so they can pull off their heist. Unfortunately, they wake up sick on Christmas Day, too sick to follow through, but they do find a pile of presents from Santa himself. Somehow, all their holiday crimes manage to land them on Santa's nice list, much to Mr. Wolf's frustration. In classic bad guy style, Mr. Wolf ends the special by plotting to rob the North Pole next Christmas to make sure they never end up on the nice list again. In the recent Bad Guys Halloween special that premiered on Netflix on October 3, 2024, we get a fun backstory adventure set before both the movie and the Christmas special. It kicks off with Mr. Wolf hyping up a spooky tale about a legendary treasure once owned by a villainous showbill stork named Reginald E. Scary. According to Wolf, anyone who dares to take the treasure is doomed to be haunted forever. Naturally, the gang is skeptical. They know Wolf has a habit of messing with them on Halloween. Determined to avoid any tricks this time, the crew follows Wolf to Scary's mansion, only to find it full of creepy automated traps designed to scare off intruders. After some close calls, they finally snag the treasure and an ancient amulet, though not without Wolf sneaking in one last prank on them. But back at their hideout, things take a weird turn. Wolf starts hearing creepy music that no one else can hear and has a bizarre dream. Convinced that he's cursed and has to return the amulet to lift the hunt, he rounds up the gang for a return trip to Scary's mansion. Once there, though, the tables turn. The gang has planned a prank of their own. They kidnap Wolf and set it up so he has to return the amulet, but of course, Wolf is onto them. Just when he seems to disintegrate after taking the amulet back, he pops up to reveal he knew about their prank all along. By then, the gang's had enough of his tricks and they all lunge at him for a bit of payback. Now the big question is, how could this next Bad Guys movie shake things up, and what might the plot have in store for our favorite crew of mostly reformed criminals? First off, the Bad Guys 2 could dive deeper into the team's struggle with balancing their old criminal instincts and their new good guy reputation. They're living as reformed citizens now, but with a new all-female criminal squad pulling them back for one last job. The film has a chance to explore what it really means to change, or not change, when it's convenient. Plot-wise, the Bad Guys 2 might follow the gang trying to pull off this heist while wrestling with the lure of their old ways versus their newer, slightly nobler selves. Plus, with a rival team of female villains in the mix, there's plenty of room for competition, mischief, and maybe even a dash of romance or rivalry. We could also see the stakes rise for Mr. Wolf as he tries to keep the group on a good path, especially if his old mentor figure, Professor Marmalade, gets involved again. It would be interesting to see if they stay true to the good in them or get pulled back into crime. Either way, this next chapter is shaping up to be an exciting challenge that might just redefine bad in a whole new way. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. As always, we'd love to hear your suggestions for future topics in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on all our latest content.